pretending who we are, who we are. You and me, we used to be together every day, together always. I really feel that I'm losing my best friend. Can't believe this could be the end. It looks as though you're letting go, and if it's real, then I don't want to know. Don't speak, I know just what you're saying, so please stop explaining. Don't tell me 'cause it hurts. Don't speak, I know just what you're thinking, and I don't need your reasons. Don't tell me 'cause it hurts.
What up, freaks and geeks? I am kicking off this makeup tutorial with no brows, looking real crazy. Sorry. If you like the song Don't Speak that my husband and I recorded and had so much fun doing, make sure you give us a like, a subscribe, and feel free to download it on SoundCloud at the link below. I started the makeup with this Walking Dead palette. It's actually by Wolf Face Art. My original plan was to mix the cream color with sort of the yellow and the gray to create this sepia tone makeup look. Looking back, I kind of wish that I had just gone straight to a warmer foundation because the water-based paint and the actual foundation and concealer I used didn't play well together, so let that be a lesson. Whenever you're using something water-based, whatever goes on top of it sort of takes on that consistency of the water-based paint. It wasn't my favorite combo, but what happened is that the yellow ended up working sort of like a color corrector, balancing out my skin tone so that I could warm it up with the foundation. And what I used was Kat Von D's Lock It Foundation and concealer. Just to touch on Kat Von D's Lock It Foundation and concealers, absolutely awesome coverage, great color payoff, and the concealer is called Neutral, but it might as well just be called White because it is the lightest light concealer shade that I have ever used. And for people like me who are really pasty and pale, it is really hard to find an actual concealer that covers and highlights at the same time. So this is like a win-win-win on my scale. I just used the wand to apply it directly to my skin, and then I used a damp beauty blender to make sure that it got in all the cracks and crevices of my skin and that it created that flawless look. Since we're going for a sepia vintage tone, it's really important that the skin looks almost like it's glowing because, you know, they had that like built-in filter in their cameras in those days. No HD, that's for sure. Then I'm going in with 100% Pure's bronzing powder, which I absolutely love because my skin is super sensitive. 100% Pure uses no talc, no mica, no filler product, and it never makes me break out. So if you have sensitive skin, you have got to try their powder foundation and their bronzer. So basically that is the theme for the next couple minutes here in the video. I'm using that same powder bronzer under my eyes. In the 1920s, they really accentuated the round eye shape, so I'm leaving my waterline completely alone with hopes to sort of open up that area. And then I'm building the color inside of the inner corner of my crease and bringing it down almost like a triangle to accentuate that higher end of my eyebrow. That was kind of the go-to eye shape in those days. And even though back then they didn't really contour, because this is sort of a fun fantasy look, I'm going to go ahead and contour my nose just to completely change my shape of my face altogether. Bringing that down from the inner corner of my eye onto my nose is really what's going to make it look cohesive. And then I'm just adding the brown tones all over, anywhere where there would be just a little bit of natural shadow, and then blending it all out with a big fluffy brush. Next, I'm going in with NYX's Brow Marker, and I'm going to use it under my eye. Again, staying away from the waterline, but accentuating that area underneath my lash line just to create that round, open, kind of doe-eyed shape. So what we've done with the bronzing powder is create a roadmap to figure out where we want to place the darker colors later, accentuate a little here, blend a little there until we get exactly what we're looking for. And in this case, that's that really sepia, warm, brown, almost muddy look that was so popular in the vintage photos and the silent movies back in the early 1900s. Now this was kind of before the winged eyeliner era, so in the photographs I was looking at for reference, I just saw a lot of lightly filled in or shadowed eyes. So that's what I did here. I just took that same marker and lightly filled in just on my eyelid and really not even into my crease, and then later blended it with the fluffy brush. One of my favorite products of all time, absolutely tried and true, is NYX Wonder Pencil. This is in light, but I think they also have a medium tone. I'm taking this into the waterline. Finally, we get to play in the waterline. And I'm just adding a little bit of that color to open up the eye and create that round, big doe-eyed shape that we've been talking about the whole tutorial. Since we're playing around in the waterline and there is moisture in the waterline, we're going to go ahead and set that creamy pencil with a flesh tone powder. And then we hope and pray that it lasts longer than about 5 or 10 minutes. This is a new product that I've tried that I'm really loving right now. It's by Benefit Cosmetics and it's called Eyebrow. Basically, it's just another gel liner, but I really like that it has the brush built in that little circus-looking triangle packaging, and it lasts a really long time without being too heavy. So I'm liking it for now, and I'm going to use it to go ahead and fill in my brows for this look. Now, obviously, in the early 1900s, which is sort of the era we're touching on here, the brow trend at the time was not this full, beautiful brow that we have going right now. They were not on fleek, okay? Am I too old to say on fleek? I feel like I am. All right, we're going to let it go. The trend was much more a comma or parentheses, if you will. Much more rounded and much more thin, which I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of bringing me back to my Christina Aguilera dirty brow trend, so it's making me cringe just a little. Don't forget, short, small strokes mimic hair and create a more natural looking brow. Honestly, any looking brow is better than no brow at this point. I'm just happy to see myself with some eyebrows on my face. Okay, now that we have the brows set and finished, I'm going to go ahead with a darker brown, almost taupey gray brown shade and really start carving out that area that we started before with the bronzing powder to create that almost bedroomy, kind of dreamy eye. Finally, it is time to play with some lippies. I am using NYX's medium brown liner and focusing first on the Cupid's bow. I want to create a shape of an M. It's almost going to look like a heart when we're finished. When you're creating a specific shape like this, sometimes it does help to hold your lips taut. Same idea behind why it's easier to draw on paper versus on your skin. It's just a flat surface. Once you're comfortable with your M or your top of your heart shape on the top lip, you're going to go into the bottom lip and leave the outer corners just slightly open. So if you visualize this as the bottom of the heart, it's actually going to make your lips look smaller, but that was kind of the desired look in that era. Do you guys ever sometimes wonder what we're going to look back on 20 years from now and cringe and wish we hadn't done it? I feel like it's going to be the brows. All right, moving right along to filling in those lippies. This is NYX Liquid Suede Color in Downtown Beauty. Filling in the lippie with the liquid suede and make sure you wait for it to dry before you do another layer. I probably did 2 layers or so to get a really concentrated opaque color, because this isn't actually going to be brown. We want it to appear like she's got maybe a red lip or a deep wine color, and because it's sepia toned, it looks brown on camera. So that wraps up the first part of the tutorial, but wait, it gets weirder. Starting with the fact that I can't tell my right from my left apparently, we're going to start with Third Degree, which is a silicone-based compound, and it's going to build up the lip so that what we sew into isn't actually skin, but only what appears to be skin. I added about 5 layers of this before I even got started with the tutorial, so if you get up close and personal, it definitely looks like I have some sort of herp on my lip, for sure. Or maybe like a Kylie Jenner zombie. Do not mix A and B together until you're ready for it to be a hot, sticky mess. Try to keep them as separate as possible or you might ruin your product. I really tried to keep this as smooth as possible, but it definitely does have some little bumps in it, so just be careful when you're applying layers to try to keep it smooth in the beginning. You have about 5 minutes while it's malleable, and then it's going to turn into basically a glob that's not going to move. Once you have sufficient layers where you feel like you won't poke yourself in the lips with a needle, then you're ready to start sewing. Your mom would be so proud. Game time decision, I decided to add some tears. I felt like her face was just looking a little too pretty for someone who was, a little crazy. I just used a black water-based paint and oversaturated my brush so that it was runny. You could also just do this with mascara and drop some water on top of it. And right before it was completely dry, I just used my finger to smudge it a little so that it wasn't perfect looking, like a perfect tear. It looked more like she'd been wiping snot off her face with the back of her hand. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we separate the men from the boys. How far are you willing to go for your Halloween costume? Put on your big girl panties and let's do this. Yep, that's a real needle, and we're gonna thread it just like you would normally. Now, actually, the scariest part of this tutorial is how long it's been since I've actually threaded a needle. That shit takes forever. Hardest part of the whole tutorial, hands down, is threading the needle. All right, so I feel like you're waiting for me to tell you the safest, easiest way to do this without poking yourself in the lip. And the scary and sad truth is that there really is no safe way. So I probably should have added a disclaimer earlier, but basically you're just poking around and hoping that you hit the dried up third degree and not your lip. But fortunately, you can feel when the needle hits your actual lip versus when it hits the plastic. So I would just recommend that you take it slow, take your time. I did have to hold down the dried third degree on my lip when I pulled it through to be sure that the pressure from the thread being pulled upward or downward didn't pull off the third degree. I also will note that when I folded over the thread, it made for a messier stitch. So if I could do it again, I might not pull as much of the second part of the string, if that makes sense, so that I got a cleaner stitch. You guys have totally got this. Be brave. You're not going to hurt yourself, I promise. The second you feel that needle poke on your actual lip, you're going to stop and you're going to reassess where you want to put the needle, so you'll be fine. Just make sure you layer your third degree so that it's not an issue, and be safe. When all is said and done, you should have something like this. You probably won't be able to eat or drink, but you're going to look really freaking cool. So, I don't know, eat some pizza before you go to your Halloween party and make sure you scare all your friends. I do like the effect of the needle kind of dangling down there. I think that looks cool. Hey, if you're wondering how I did the lighting to create that sepia tone in my makeup room, stick around because I have a quick little light tutorial after this. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. Happy Halloween!
Oh my god, the lighting is so good. So you should probably like videotape like turning the white light off.
Yeah.
It's not in sepia.
Let me turn the
Yeah. Look at that.
ring light.
And I didn't change at all.
No ring light. So as you can see, the ring light made all the difference. I started with a big piece of burlap fabric and I strung it on 2 rolling racks I have in my laundry room. Then I had 2 orangey based lights that I put on the ground facing upward toward the burlap because I wanted to create a vignette. And when the 2 beams of light meet in the center, it creates almost like a spotlight effect. And then when I sit in front of it, the focus of my camera is on me and softens the background so that you can't see the wrinkles in the burlap fabric. Then in front of me, I have the same 2 orangey based lights. They're kind of like an orangey red. I have one to my left and one to my right. And then as you saw, I turned off the ring light, so that was the only cool toned light I had in the room. Just wanted to touch on lighting really quickly because I really feel like in this case it added to the look and made my life much easier. You definitely don't have to spend a ton of money. Home Depot has a ton of different colored bulbs. I would just grab a couple and play around and see what you can create. As always, you guys are wonderful. Thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial and you're enjoying the 31 days of Halloween. I love you so many bananas, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.